Here with Warren Brown, I have to tell you, I have been binge watching Luther like there is no tomorrow. And when you play a character as popular as Ripley, is there a pressure to sort of find the next role that's just as good?
Um, I think ultimately you just want to keep testing yourself and pushing yourself and try and do a variety of kind of different roles. Luther's been a fantastic job for me. Kind of helps to raise your profile and hope that kind of helps push you further and possibly helps you to get your kind of next job.
And tell me about this show. Like, what can people expect when they tune into X Company?
Well, it's very, very different to Luther. Maybe not quite as dark, but it's lots of fun. A fantastic story about something that, admittedly I knew very little about, or if anything, before the project, and that is, Camp X, this kind of ultra-secret training facility in Canada that played a huge part in the Second World War that not too many people knew about, which is handy, being an ultra-secret base. But yeah, it's exciting. The scripts are great. It's really cinematic. It looks beautiful. It's period, obviously, and I think they've just done a fantastic job with it. And I'm kind of very excited for it to come out, and very happy and grateful to have been a part of it.
Neil appears to sort of be the muscle of the group, and he lost his family in the Blitz. How much does that affect his need for revenge and his need for violence meets violence?
Yeah, he's kind of been very personally affected. He's lost his family to the Blitz, so yeah, he's got a kind of categorical hate for the Germans and does kind of take it personally, and he kind of has a view, rightly or wrongly, that certainly for him and the job that these guys are doing, it's kind of don't think, don't hesitate, kill or be killed, because if you stop to think about it, then it could be you. So yeah, I think he absolutely takes that kind of into his now job.
I find that like film and TV right now, it's all about like the resistance, the resistance against establishment, the Hunger Games, Divergent, now this show. Why do you think that people connect with the concept of resistance against an authority figure so much?
Well, this certainly in this incarnation, it's World War II, it's the 40s, it's something that a lot of people are familiar with and have been told these kind of stories. But I think our show is kind of coming out from an angle that it's this era, but the Camp X kind of spin on it is kind of something that I think not a lot of people know. This kind of the birth of espionage, which is kind of still, this is where it kind of all began, and this is kind of where some of the CIA and these organizations kind of stemmed from. Ian Fleming trained there. That is kind of like quite well documented, so that was kind of could be seen as potentially where kind of James Bond came from, and so these were the men and women that were kind of doing it first and foremost. And with obviously technology is kind of very different, so that the skills that they had and the kind of equipment that they were using is obviously in comparison well outdated, but was still kind of ahead of its time for the 40s.
The team seems to lose a member in the first episode, and is that how every episode is going to be? In terms of just like the stakes in every episode, like that really sets the bar high. Like these people are in danger every single week.
Oh, definitely. The stakes are high all the time. I think Sinclair, he kind of says that the life expectancy is kind of 50-50. So I think every time these guys go out on a mission, they're risking their life for the greater good, and one mistake and the price you pay is death.
When I was putting my questions together for Warren, I was just like, all right, you got to ask the right questions, because this guy is a 2-time Thai kickboxing champion. Do you feel like that athletic background of yours helped you land this part, this like muscly kind of like athletic role?
Yes, if I'm honest, I think it absolutely did. Thai boxing was kind of something that I did professionally before I acted, so it's a long time ago now. But I still love it. I still try to keep at the training, and definitely for this role, because here is a man that his apart from he's kind of an ex-police officer and his personal experiences, but kind of during a period of time in Shanghai, he's learnt martial arts, and kind of this was something that was a requirement for this character. So certainly in this instance, it was an opportunity for me to say, oh, and by the way, I have this to bring to the table, and an opportunity for me to kind of combine the love of kind of acting and Thai boxing and put them together was unbelievable. And as Neil's quite kind of physical and quite hands-on, and we get to have a few tear-ups and a few fights with some Germans. So that's been fun. And then, but just kind of pushing that, even further than I've ever done before in any other job. I've always enjoyed anything physical, but really, really required for this job. And then kind of later on in the series, there's a fight in particular that's kind of bigger than any kind of fight I've done on screen. And that was great that I kind of had quite a lot of input in that and was able to kind of choreograph a scene with actually a friend of mine who was an actor and also has a Thai boxing background. So we could kind of really go at it and obviously trust each other, and hopefully it's effective.
Now, something that wasn't in the character description is this like deadpanned sense of humor that you have. Is it true that the writers actually tried to infuse that into Neil's character?
Deadpan sense of humor.
That's what it says in the press. They were like, we got to put this in.
Ultimately, they Mark and Stephanie, who created this show and created these characters, you've kind of got a blueprint of where the character starts, but then as you kind of get into filming and kind of start spending time and hanging out, then I suppose bits of our own personalities possibly do bleed into these characters. And I think kind of from a writing perspective, once they kind of get to know you a bit more and see how you're building this character, they can kind of write a bit more specific. So yeah, it was a great job. It was a tough job. A grueling schedule, but we had a lot of fun. So there were a lot of laughs, and if a little bit has managed to seep into Neil, then yeah, it's good.
And finally, why should people tune into the show?
Because if they don't, I'm going to come around and Thai box your ass.
I like it, Warren.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Cheers.